My dad always had a complicated relationship with wrestling. He didn't really like that I liked it so much. So when I was about 8 or 9 years old, he was getting on me about how wrestling's not real and those moves don't really hurt. And I'm just like, no, they do, Dad. You're full of it. He goes, all right, I'll tell you what. Why don't you put me in a wrestling move and I'll prove it doesn't hurt. So I thought, all right, yeah, you need to lie in the ground. Okay, and at that point, I put my dad in the crippler face. I cranked it, and that is the origin of my dad's 20-year back problems. He called out of work that day, had to start going to a chiropractor, and I didn't get in trouble because my mom was just like, listen, you're an idiot. You shouldn't have told him. To be fair, he was right.
Yeah, wrestling moves hurt. They're legit. It's based off of actual wrestling. I know that pro wrestling is a show, but we need to have something in between to simulate that we are in battle. And if we're just high-fiving each other, then no one's going to believe that that's a battle. I almost have a similar story. Jordan Glickson's basement, I was probably 7 or 8 years old. He put me in the camel clutch, and he cranked it back. And I remember crying a lot. To this day, probably the reason for some of my back problems. I guess I could say 20 plus years of professional wrestling is more of the reasons. But I like to think that it's Jordan Glickson in the camel clutch emulating the Iron Sheik. But your dad learned a big lesson that day, that wrestling moves can hurt. Even when some of the trained professional wrestlers put them on, especially the pricks who don't know that it's a little bit of a show, they can still slap it on. And in their mind, they're trying to do that same amount of damage that you were trying to do to your father 20 years ago. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly. Wherever you listen to your podcast, go subscribe. While you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.